Well, I have no idea where my glasses went. They're someplace. But we had to put in a new disc. Could someone tell me what's with the fluorescent colors? And isn't this the most ugly greenish yellow thing you've ever seen in your life? But anyways, for this particular disc, the episodes actually go in numerical order. Oh my god, because they don't go in order. I'm almost positive they don't go in order in the next disc. I'm almost positive. So we are in season 3, we are in disc 3, and we are in episode 151, Future's End, part 2, where the doctor gets his new toy. Let's get going here. And there is no captain's voiceover for this. So we just launched right back into the episode after the recap. After that. Previously on Voyager. And don't you wish they're doing all this other stuff with Star Trek? Why do they completely 100% ignore Voyager? Why? I could use some more Voyager. But they're forever ignoring Voyager. It's the one that's been totally denied here. Let's get back to it. And stop it with that stupid cartoon thing. I want Voyager. Alright, let's see what happens here. So she says, let me guess, someone broke into the van last night while I was sleeping, tried to snatch the stereo. You bravely fought them off, and now you're repairing the damage. That's exactly what happened. My hero, what's it like? Life as a spy, classified. All right, I forgot. You said secret agent, and nobody says secret agent, and you do that a lot. You get things not quite right. Like you don't belong here. You're fascinating. And you're insulting my intelligence. Yesterday afternoon, I picked up a UFO in orbit. Today, my life is completely out of control. So don't think I'm stupid to notice. I apologize. Except that you should also accept that there are lives at stake here. The more you keep asking questions, the more difficult you make things for everybody. I'll try. Why did you become an astronomer? My brother had a telescope, a little refractor, and you could barely see the house next door. Actually, but it was enough. It was enough to see that the rings of Saturn. I remember I used to think that they looked like jewels from a pirate's treasure. All I ever wanted since then was to reach up and touch them. And Tuvok joins them. So Tuvok brings food. Chili burritos, footlong hot dogs, and Goliath scalps. This is not a breakfast. This is an afternoon at Dodger Stadium. That's a non sequitur. Would you please hand me a burrito? Everything you guys do is a little bit off. Things are kind of crude. So much for sending a locator signal. There is another option. The radio dish at the observatory. We could use the same setup. The same setup as I used to send the message to you, whatever it is in orbit. We will require your assistance. No kidding, she says. Well, not on an empty stomach, so they gotta eat at least. I want to be sitting here eating my breakfast right now while I watch Voyager. So I'm planning on having a couple of Eggo waffles smothered in butter and syrup, like Miss Eve Dallas. If you haven't watched our Saturday week characterizations, please check those out. But I would like to be sitting here watching this program, eating my breakfast. But I'm talking to you, and that would be rude, and I would get syrup and stuff all over my stuff, but I don't want to get syrup and stuff all over my stuff. So, Sterling downloaded nearly 20% of our computer code while we were trying to be in the time ship out of his building. I'm replacing those programs as quickly as I can, but some of it isn't retrievable. Like the doctor says, there's literally nothing left of him. He's just gone. Unfortunately, the doctor is only one of our problems. Our weapons are offline. Tuvok and Paris are still missing somewhere in our lunges, and we've confirmed Captain Braxton's hypothesis. If Sterling does attempt a flight to the future, it will most likely end in disaster. And Kim says, I've analyzed Braxton's schematics. The temporal technology is incredibly complex. No matter how much of a genius the Sterling might be, he's not a trained pilot from the 29th century. Without exact calibration, that ship will rip the time-space continuum apart. The instant he jumps into the 29th century, it won't be a 29th century. Not for Earth, anyway. The entire solar system will be destroyed. I want that time ship. Uh, Long-range transporters are still down. We'll have to drop out of orbit again. Neelix, I strongly recommend that the more legitimate news organizations have probably decided that Voyager is fraudulent. However, I've also been monitoring more official channels and decided that Voyager, that the United States military is taking things a little more seriously. So, they get a signal from Tuvok. So Tuvok reports that him and Paris are in the Griffith Observatory, and we've modified the satellite dish transmitter to carry and receive Voyager communication frequency. We got the bad connection. That's quite all right, Mr. Tuvok. What's happened? We've become associated with a young woman employed at the astronomical laboratory. It was she who sent the message to Voyager. Her lab is under the supervision of an individual named Henry Starling. We've met Starling. He has the time ship, and he's the one who will cause the disaster in the 29th century. Then it seemed we must find a way to stop him. Tell me about this young woman. Can we trust her? She and Lieutenant Paris appear to be bonding on a cross-cultural level. I would have to say yes. And she'd be willing to help us? And then we get interrupted. So, Sterling's got the doctor. How's it going? I find it interest in my well-being to be less than genuine. Try to be a little more grateful, Doctor. Schematics I downloaded from your sheet indicate you were stuck in sick bay for 24 hours. I recently suffered a severe program loss, and I'm in the process of retrieving my memory files. But apparently, on a few occasions, I have been projected into other locations. Undoubtedly, you're using a similar procedure. My holographic simulator. We used to test it on our new microchip designs. I projected you through the emitters in the office. Your program really isn't very sophisticated. That's a matter of opinion. Now, would you please return me to my vessel? Can't do that, not yet. I have a few questions I want answered. If you needed medical expertise, I would refer a more local physician. All Captain Janeway talks of disaster. I just caused the smoke. You're here to steal my time ship. That's simply not the case, the doctor says. The time ship is from the 29th century, technology 500 years more advanced than anything you've got. You'd love to get your hands on it. You figured I'd be an easy target, some backward 20th century Neanderthal that didn't know what he's got, but you found out otherwise, didn't you? A paranoid response indicates bipolar disorder if my history is accurate. Southern California in the late 20th century had no shortage of psychotherapists, competent and otherwise. I suggest you return me to Voyager. I've learned that your weapons and damage your ship. Your ship teleporter is half shot. But I didn't get all the personnel files. I have to know my enemy. Give me Captain Janeway's psychological profile. I'm not a doctor. I'd say you're a little bit of both. Start talking. Suffer the consequences. Hardly. I'm a hologram. And he's able to give the doctor pain and emotions and all these kind of feelings. He tortures the doctor for a few minutes. So they have her call Starling and say, everything's not okay. People are shooting at me. They're going to find me. I don't know what to do. Yes, you do. You're going to jump in a cab and come to my office. You'll be safe here. No, they'll find me. Where are you? Metro Plaza by the fountain. Please come get me, please. I'll send somebody. No, no, no. You. I'm really scared. I'll be right there. Then she tells the guys, he bought a soda. What do you mean? I don't know. His voice sounded a little suspicious. And we go back to Sterling, and he tells the doctor, we're going on a trip, and the doctor's like, no, when he gives him the emitter. The doctor has never ridden in a car before, and he's in Los Angeles. He's outside in the world. He's not just on a ship. He's in the real world. He's so amazed. So they've got this whole thing set up here. And the doctor's still like, I can't believe I'm out here. So then they're taking a shuttle down to Earth, and it's Balana and Chakotay, and they talk about his first year at the academy. Then he went to Venus for a couple months to learn how to handle atmospheric storms. Then I dodged asteroids for a semester in the belt. Sounds like you had a lot of fun at the academy than I did. I remember dodging a few punches in the lab. Only you, Balana, could start a brawl on Astrotheory 101. I guess I was a little more enthusiastic in those days. I guess so. Chakotay, what do we do if we stuck here? What if we can't find a way back? There are a few isolated places left in the century. We could keep a low profile. We'd have to get jobs. I thought we'd pursue archaeology full time. Maybe I could teach it at the university or work one of the central digs in Central America. There were a lot of important discoveries made in this century. I could win a Nobel Prize. So much for keeping a low profile. Highly qualified Klingon seeks position as engineer. I'd hire you in a second. Let's start a descent. Um, and they get into a little bit of danger. So Paris has talked to the shuttle and said that Sterling is there with the doctor, and they want to know how it's possible that the doctor is outside in the field situation. Trying to catch up here. I'm not programmed for small talk. Maybe just a little anxious about being out in the real world. It's just another environment to me. Mind your manners, Doc. If your shipmates start into trouble, you'll be hollow dust. And then Tuvok says, I've triangulated the position of the van. Chakotay, stand by for tricorder uplink. You'll be able to lock on the moment Sterling is inside. So they're supposed to head to her van, but they don't. He takes her back to the limo. Sorry, I missed. But when they get to the limo, she sees that guy, and she's like, that's the guy that tried to kill me. Well, I've got the gun, so get in the car anyway. There's a lot of back and forth here. It's hard to keep up with. But they tell them they're going in the wrong direction. They head to the limo. Like they didn't think the guy was going to go back to his own vehicle, then her van. And she panics when she sees the guy, but they get in the car and they beam Starling up, or at least try to beam him up. And that doesn't work. And the doctor tries to help. Sort of, kind of. So they all gather up and they're like, they're fascinated with the doctor. And he says he's been equipped with an autonomous, self-sustaining mobile hollow emitter. In short, I'm footloose and fancy-free, and he's enjoying it. So the shuttlecraft runs into difficulties, and they end up crashing. They're trying to beam Starling aboard, and he's interfering with their beam technology. It's a little dark, of course. I always itch and bitch and complain that if you want dramatic acting, you should at least be able to let us see the actors. It's beginning to become a huge pet peeve of mine. But Bolano and Chakotay are in the shed, and the people are bonkers. Totally, absolutely bonkers. So then, I just bypassed it, but Chakotay and Balana are in the shed, and the southern guys with their rifles have it trained on them, and they're holding them hostage. Then we go to Rain and the doctor and Chakotay and Paris in the van. And she's like, I've gone out with guys who've disappeared into thin air on the first date. I assume she's speaking figuratively, the doctor says, but I've never actually seen it. And you, Mr. Leisure Suit, there's a name I hadn't considered. The guy punched you a bunch of times. You should have a black eye or a swollen lip or a broken nose. Try to relax. You appear to be hallucinating. Oh, is that what I am? I'm hallucinating? I'm sorry you got dragged into all this. And the phone rings. We've got Sterling. We've lost our contact with Chakotay and Torres. Their shuttle went down in Arizona. Mr. Kim is transmitting the coordinates to your tricorder. I want you to find them. I, Captain Tuvok out. Mr. Sterling is under control. I suggest you return to Chromeware and continue the business there. The doctor and I must make our way to Arizona. So then we're in the sick bay, and he suffered minor synaptic stress during the extended transport, caused enough unconsciousness, no permanent damage. Can you bring him out of it? Yes, Captain. And she wakes him up and she says, "Welcome to the 23rd century. I took the precaution of removing your tricorder." That's what it's called, by the way. It didn't work. You should have blocked your ship's transporter. It works perfectly. You just didn't know how to use it. Give me some credit, Captain. I did very well for a primitive. That's all over now. I won. So disable the force field around Chromeware. I want that ship. You're in no position to be making any demands, Captain. On the contrary, what you gonna do? Shoot me? Time. So the thought has crossed my mind. Well, it wouldn't get you anything. I've rigged the time ship. If you try to teleport it again, you or if you go near it, Los Angeles will look like the face of the moon. You destroy an entire city. You don't care about the future. You don't care about the present, do you? The betterment of mankind. It doesn't look like that. Why do I think I want to go to the future? A vacation? Get more technology. That's why you're launching this time ship. I've catalyzed the ship as much as I can. There's nothing left on commercial product. And the future is just waiting to be exploited. You don't get it, do you? I've created the microcomputer revolution using technology you never should have had. Irrelevant. My products benefit the entire world. Without me, there'd be no laptops, no internet, no barcodes. What good for Chromeware if it's good for everybody else? I can't stop now. One trip to the 29th century, and I could bring back technology to start the next 10 computer revolutions. If you attempt to the time travel, you're risking a temporal explosion that could cost billions of lives, she says. I'm willing to risk that. And their conversation goes on for a while. So then the farmer guy is giving tourism, Balana and Chakotay a lecture. Um, there are two forces in the world: the drive to collectivity and the drive to individuality. And you are the former, and I am the latter. We told you we are not from the government. The beast has many heads, and look at the two of them. I used to think violence would be the solution, but it's not true. You are no patriot. I was a freedom fighter, so I thought. That gun will get you nowhere. And a whole bunch of people come in with guns. I'm over it. And she's like, let's recap. UFO in orbit, laser pistols, people vanishing. I've seen every second of Mission Impossible. You're no secret agents. I told you I can't talk about it. You can't keep a call from a hypothesizing. I'm a scientist. I'm thinking. Alternative dimension. Close encounter. Whatever. Talk about a motley crew. We have the doctor, a guy with worst taste in clothing ever. I've seen Tuvok with a Freakosaurus. Has the guy even tried to smile? Not that I can recall. And you, Tom Paris, sexy, in a howdy-doody sort of way. Pretty goofy, although sometimes I think you're the smartest man I've ever met. All this running around you do, your mission, you're so dedicated, like you care about something more than your own life. Is that so unusual? Yeah. So then the other guy is in the ship and he's trying to activate it or something. And Sterling has figured out a way to uh, transport himself back to the surface. She takes them to where they want to go, and then she's like, "Will I see you again?" And he's like, "Probably not." So then we're back to Balana and Chakotay, and someone is screaming that he wants the occupants from the ship. So then Paris, Tuvok, and the Doctor are following the time ship. So they follow the other truck, and there's some shooting going on, and her engine dies. So her poor van doesn't survive. So, they're on the shuttle. Oh, it was the doctor that rescued them. Cool beans. but there was no time ship in that truck. So they're stalling in a ship. So he launches and he breaks through the roof of his building, and they need to get the shuttlecraft back to Voyager ASAP. We have our sweet little goodbye. How is she gonna get back to regular place without gasoline? Well, maybe she has gasoline. Maybe I'm reading too much into this. We have our fond farewell out in the middle of the desert. So, why is it dark? Janeway's doing some configurations. Why can't we see? Why can't they show us her? But Kim reports to her that the shuttlecraft is back on board, and she's doing some maneuvering. And Kim tells her that the guy's stalling ship is taken off. So the doctor's on the bridge. He's enjoying his halo emitter, and he will continue to enjoy his halo emitter for future seasons. So Janeway has reconfigured the torpedoes. They're going to fire upon him. And they try and talk to Sterling. And bridge to Janeway. The shuttle's back on board. Wait a minute. I skipped it. Hold on a second. So they're telling him to pull away from the rift. Or what? Your weapons are down, friend. See you sometime. Chakotay to Janeway. Captain, we have no other choice. He's entering the rift. Fire. Janeway gets knocked out when the torpedo launches. And they launch the torpedo. And Sterling goes, uh-oh. And it hits him just as he enters the rift. The doctor examines the doctor examines the captain, and he insists she comes to sick bay, and she's like, no, she's got to go to the bridge. Janeway wants to know if they can reopen the rift, and the rift does open, and they're being held. So the time ship comes back through, and Braxton's Captain Braxton, do you know me? Yes, unfortunately. You tried to destroy our ship in the 24th century, and the next time we saw you, you were old Thomas Blaine in 1996. I never experienced that timeline. What are you doing here? In my century, we can scan time, much as you use sensors to scan space. The Temporal Integrity Commission detected your vessel over the 20th century Earth. I was sent to correct that. Please prepare to follow me back into the rift. I'm returning you to your own time. Captain, we've been trying to get home to Earth for some time. Can you return us to the Alpha Quadrant? I'm sorry, Temporal Prime Directive. I'm afraid you're on your own. Braxton out. And they follow him in back to their century, but also back to the Delta Quadrant instead of the Alpha Quadrant. Poor peeps. The disappointment when he tells everybody about the Temporal Prime Directive. She understands the Prime Directive and she understands it, but she would prefer to be dropped off back in the Alpha Quadrant. And Janeway has to give the order to follow through. So they go back in his rift and they go back to their own time. Outside of ship? You know what outside of ship means? Outside of ship means supplemental. Captain's log, stardate. We are again in the Delta Quadrant at the exact time and place we first encountered the time ship. I've resumed a course for Earth and I've ordered the crew to the mess hall for something. Let's hold on a second. So we're in the mess hall. We're having a little bit of a toast. How long will you be out and about, Doctor? If you're referring to my newfound mobility, that is entirely up to me. I'm still trying to figure out how exactly the doctor's automated emitter works, but it looks like downloading him back into the computers isn't going to be much of a problem. Apparently, the reverse is also true. I will be able to make use of the emitter as casually as you might slip on a pair of shoes. It's a little more involved than that, Balana says. You know, Cass, now that I'll be up to and fro, your responsibilities in sick bay will increase. I'm up to the challenge, Doctor, but what about you? There's going to be more to your life than sick bay. Nothing I can't handle. You know, Captain, I've always wanted a little privacy. Perhaps under the circumstances, my own quarters. One step at a time, Doctor. You should have seen it when the parking enforcement officer came over to the van. Tuvok tried to use pure Vulcan logic to talk her out of giving us a citation. Did it work? Of course not. Given Mr. Parrish is allegedly familiar with the 20th century America, it's a wonder we survived the experience at all. Tuvok, has anyone told you you're a freakosaurus? Parrish says, and the episode ends. And that is the end of the episode. Please join me next week for the Warlord, the Q and the Gray. I'll remember this. Q drives the car out of Janeway with the Civil War, and the Macro Sim. And don't forget, if then later this afternoon, JD Rob tomorrow, unboxing on Sunday, flashback Mondays, and of course my daily book reviews. And it's now time for breakfast. Have a good one.